Welcome to The Lift with Sheila Robinson Kiss. Come on in. There's always a special place set aside for you here where you can relax, kick up your heels, pour yourself a nice, refreshing drink, and prepare to be lifted and soar. Hey everyone, thank you so much and welcome back to The Lift with Sheila Robinson Kiss. Mental health, movement, motivation, and the best relationship advice around. Welcome back. I hope you've had an amazing week. It's been a very busy and full week on this end. The world is opening up, so I'm opening up with it. Amazing as always to connect with you. This video message today is inspired by longtime subscriber Meryl. Meryl, I received your note. My heart goes out to you. Meryl is going through something that many of us have had to deal with in our lifetime. She feels that her relationship is fading away. I read your letter twice, and I'm not prepared to disagree with you. It would seem to me certainly that there has been seems a major shift in energy from what you described. You know, a 10-year committed relationship, all the time in the world you had for each other before. Now all of a sudden your partner is working late, doesn't want to enjoy weekend getaways. There's very little touch. There's even been a major change in just making small talk levels of affection. So I don't want to insult anyone. This is a real world channel. And quite frankly, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, ladies and gentlemen, we're dealing with a duck. So having said that, I just want to go straight between the eye. This video is about what can you do when a relationship is fading. Certainly my advice is don't chase. Don't degrade yourself and chase after it. Instead, do this. Do this. I'm going to give you some very specific things that I want you to focus on if you find yourself in this particular situation. And Meryl, based on what you wrote, what you shared with me, it's clear that this is a relationship for a variety of reasons that you are very interested in salvaging and holding on to it. I can respect that. I'm not one of these people that will automatically say if one thing goes wrong in the relationship, just trash it, throw it away. I will reference and I'll put the link to my video down below. It's called Relationship Cycles. So understanding that relationships go through various ups and downs, and just because you have made a commitment, you have taken vows. I am a strong believer. You guys know that in my heart and soul, I'm a traditionalist. I love relationships. I love committed relationships. And I'll tell you why. It inside of that commitment, that is where the transformation occurs for both people, quite frankly. There is a level of friendship, passion, compassion, camaraderie that can only be experienced when we talk about, when we combine all those things with history. That really makes for a dynamic and unique love affair across the board. So, having said that, you kind of know my position. I know a lot of people are into various arrangements, exotic relationship setups. If you like it, I love it. I'm not judging you. I'm just sharing with everyone so you can understand where I'm coming from as I am offering this advice and information that people are reaching out to receive. So relationships are going to go up and down. No one starts a relationship, makes a commitment, takes vows with the intention of things going belly up, but it happens. Why? Because we're human beings. That's the answer. There's frailties. We make mistakes. There's, urges come in. We could go on and on. But the focal point is what do you do when a relationship that you're interested in preserving, they've kind of they're clearly moving in another direction. My grandfather, God rest his soul, Grandpa Hood, most of you have heard me talk about him frequently on the channel. He had all these sayings, these old timey sayings that have come up through history. And he would always say, when someone is checked out of a relationship and they're focused on someone else, and Meryl, this seems to be the case for you, that their nose is open. Some of you have heard that their nose is open. It means their attention is elsewhere. They have the aroma. It's like you see those little aroma wave lines, and they're just kind of following it wherever it may lead. So it can be very destabilizing to be the one on the receiving end of that, because you feel like your life, your relationship, your future is slipping away. So I want to give you a couple things to think about. And first, we're going to start with what not to do. And then I'll share with you my heartfelt advice on what you can do. First of all, you don't want to fall into states of panic, making quick decisions, because the inertia of that panic can easily lead you into what I call it's states of desperation. And I have to keep it real, tell the truth, shame the devil. I've dabbled in all of these areas of error in my lifetime, and I can tell you that my advice is not only coming from firsthand experience. I'm really sharing with you. There's a lot of clinical information, good information that would really back me up here. So I'm going to give you some very strategic interventions that I have used to walk hundreds of people through this very. It's a state of shock almost, when it's not necessarily what you plan for, but you literally see someone that you made a commitment with. They are checking out. They're checking out. You can feel it, you can sense it. They've done everything short of sitting down with you and saying, look, I'm just not into you anymore, or I'm just not into you at this point in time. So I'm going to give you some specifics, and I want you to truly avoid the temptation to just kind of, freak out and fighting and arguing and being taken out of your character. Or if your character is to fight and argue, I would invite you again to lean into these alternative methods, because I've seen them work. So the first thing, I remember some years ago, a woman had reached out to me and she said, Sheila, I'm so angry. I know for a fact he is dealing with this woman. He works with her. They're out to lunches together. He's claiming that this is a friend, but we're not on the same page. We're not functioning as friends. And what she was doing was just a classic mistake. And again, this is a caveat. This was a relationship that she was highly interested in maintaining and invested in many, many years. So she wanted to keep her relationship. And what she was doing was just every single day, this man would come through the door. It was like an attack, yelling, screaming. We already know what's going on. It's not good. It's wrong. It's shaking your foundation. What you're doing is not making it any better. And I can also tell you this: when someone, as my grandfather would say, has their nose open, they are, probably far enough along in some cases where if they're not actively making the decision to move further into this direction. They may be already weighing out options. Should I stay in this relationship? Am I going to leave it? So certainly coming home to someone who's enraged, that's really not going to do a lot to calm things down. So what I told her to do, I said, you know what? Do you have photo albums? She's like, well, absolutely. Of course I have photo albums. I said, what I want you to do, get the photo album. I want you to just leave it on the kitchen table, open it, put a little note on there that says, you can't replace this. You can't replace this. You're wanting to do things that pack a punch and make a statement without making things so much worse. Those are the kind of things that I would recommend. If it's a relationship that you want to keep and you're interested in bringing this person back to the table to kind of talk through this and work it out, I would send a periodic text with a picture from a happier time. You know, you're gonna throw this away. This is really what you're doing. Is it worth it? The other piece of advice that I've recommended over the years is standards. Helping this individual revisiting standards and vows. And how do you do that? You know, I don't know what you're doing here or what you're involved in, but this has nothing to do with the standards that we have set for this relationship. Or are you saying that this is beneath me? Yes, I'm saying this is beneath both of us. You know, so people really psychologically, there's a lift. People want to live up to the standards that we set. And what can happen when people, their nose is open, they're, entertaining other relationships while they're in a committed relationship. You guys have heard me say many times, God is not the author of confusion. Oftentimes this is coming from and through just a lot of dark influences that are out here and want to divide and conquer relationships and households. You really have to keep that at the forefront of your mind, so people lose their way. I've seen it hundreds of times over the years where someone, they are literally, and no one can believe it. It's like, I'm shocked. This person was so committed. They were happy with everything, and it seemed like overnight it just flipped. They have lost their way. So I love the idea of these reminders about standards. Also, I want to mention where standards are concerned, I've had a number of men and women over the years, they will feel the heat of competition. Someone is vying for someone that they love. They start to get very insecure, angry. I'm going to go to the gym, massive weight loss, just all these things. I've seen people go as far as cosmetic surgeries that have went wrong. I'm gonna caution you. I'm gonna caution you not to set up a competition between equivalents. What do I mean by that? When you just immediately jump in there and say, okay, clearly I'm at a deficit, something's wrong with me, I have to hurry up and change these things about myself, XYZ, what you do in a way where most people are not even aware that they're doing it, you put yourself on the same par with this individual who, quite frankly, if you're dealing with someone who's in a committed relationship, you're what is known as an interloper. You don't belong in that picture. That's really what a commitment is. It's a boundary around a relationship. And some people, quite frankly, don't give a damn. They'll know someone's married, committed, children, the whole nine yards, and they will just crash right through that barrier and boundary. But you're what is known as an interloper in that particular situation. So when you jump up and say, you know what, I'm going to change, you're looking at this person as a competition, you're putting yourself right on the level with the interloper. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. What I would do is, to the extent that I could, you keep your cool and you maintain your standards and your standing in the relationship. I'm the one who's inside of a committed relationship. So I'm not going to run out here, lower myself, chasing, following people at night, jumping in cars. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I'm not going to lower myself and make myself equivalent with someone who really should not be in this mix. And I feel strongly about this because my whole position is, if you're so unhappy and the relationship is just so horrible, people do a lot of crazy things. How about do something crazy like have a conversation of clarity? And if it's dead, let it be dead. But this whole piece of, playing both ends to the middle, it gets people killed. I'm very sincere about this. I'm not going to get into a lot of those stories because I want to stay focused, but you're playing a very dangerous game with people's emotions, when you entertain this. So the next thing I want to share is, um, my philosophy of friends first. If there's still any semblance of a friendship inside of the relationship, it will be very appropriate to say something like this: you know what? I'm your friend. Before I'm anything else, we came into this as friends and as someone who truly cares about you and for you. You're on a slippery slope. I'm not sure what you're doing, but you're moving further and further away from yourself and anything that makes sense. So that whole piece of relating to them as a friend, because if it's a relationship that you want to get some things worked out and come back to the table, blowing stuff up is going to turn the individual further and further away from you. Again, this is a very nuanced video. It's for the person who, I'm interested in keeping this intact. I want to work it out. I do not recommend degrading yourself and chasing and crying and scratching and tears and all of that, because really what you do, you lose a tremendous amount of power. Not power over this person, but internal power, because you've essentially given them permission. You've basically said, so much of my worth and value comes through you that I have to degrade myself and I have to chase in order to keep this intact. And the reality at the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do. That is why I always say, work on yourself. Work on yourself. Because if something happens where you need to stand, you have this partnership, you think you're going happily ever after into the sunset. I hope that is the case for you. I really do. I know I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I know what love is. I know what it can do. I know how valuable companionship is. But I will tell you, having walked many a winding road, I've been on each side so many of these equations that I talk about. I can honestly tell you from the bottom of my heart, because I've lived this too, it is far better. It is far better to take a dignified walk with the Father, the creator of all creation. And hopefully you're taking that walk, whether you're paired up, coupled up, solo, whatever the case may be. But it's far better to do that than to allow yourself to chase, to scratch, running after scraps. I understand that, Sheila, but I want to fight for my relationship. Fine. Then fight for it with some dignity. Fight for it with some decorum. And if the stuff really goes off the chain, I am just a huge advocate for it. You know what? I said it before in this video. I'll say it again. God is not the author of confusion. Many times I've said, you know what? Father, you take it. You take it. You work it out. If it comes back around, fine. If not, I do not believe that you intended for me to be sitting here in this kind of turmoil and stress. And that goes for all relationships, romantic relationships, friendships. I've gone through circumstances that have run the gamut. I'm going to give you my 3 favorite words again. Ease, joy, and glory. Ease, joy, and glory. Now, we may have some hiccups, whatever the case may be, but if we can't get back to ease, joy, and glory, then I'm, as Grandpa Hood said, let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you. I will be taken care of. It's going to get worked out. I'll be fine. So these are just some things to think about. And the big takeaway from this message is get in touch with how you want to hold yourself. I love dignity. I love self-respect. I've comported myself. This is a real channel. There's been times in my life I have not walked in dignity and self-respect. But doggone it, when you know better, you do better. When you know better, you do better. And I'm telling you, as I say all the time, you're training people how to treat you. They're taking their cues from you, and you have people out there, they will just run over you and have their way with you because they can. And when you announce, okay, anything goes, anything goes, anything will go, and then anything will have went as well. So I'm speaking to you because honestly, I don't have any particular, as they say, horse in the race. My commitment to all of you is to give you the information as I know it, as I've learned it, as I've researched it, as I have discerned it, as I have experienced it. Information is powerful when you plug it in. So I hope that something I've shared has made a difference. I thank you so much. If you're loving what I'm doing, please do subscribe and share the news of the channel with your friends. I'll be back at you with some great content soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.